Good morning, children. First part, which we have started, Civics, Lesson 8, Framing of Constitution and its Features. In that, we saw the process of framing and the Constitution. Then, we have gone through Preamble, which is the core and important part of Constitution. Then, we have done importance of Preamble, pillars of the Preamble, and also the adult suffrage. Now page 59 of your lesson 8. Adult suffrage means as soon as you complete your age 18, you have that right to cast your vote of your choice of your leader without any discrimination, whether you belong to any caste, creed, religion, language, gender, education and income or birthplace. Now the second point, the first one was this, we are going through the pillars of the preamble. The first one was democracy, now the second one is socialistic. In the year 1976, by 42nd Indian Constitutional Amendment, Constitution of India added in the 42nd Amendment the word socialist. Most of the provisions in the Constitution of India directly or indirectly show social revolution, which brought social and economic equality and furthered the aim of welfare state. Welfare state means the people living in a state should not be discriminated on the basis of economically and socially. This principle of socialistic pattern, which directs social, economic and political equality for citizens, as it is being shown or given in the preamble. That means socially you are equal, you belong to any caste, religion, whether your income is less or more, that is economic. Politically you are having equality. It is now regarded as a prime feature of the state. That means basic requirement of a citizen. It reflects the fact that India is committed to secure social, economic and political justice for all its people. Every person, that means every person, yani ki every citizen of a state, of a country is having social, economic and political rights, and they are getting the justice. This social, economic and politically they are secured. India is always standing for abolishing all the forms of exploitation, as well as also giving you a security, that is of equitable distribution of income, resources and wealth. Any one particular person should not have power over all assets. Instead, everyone should have equal opportunity by getting facilities and provisions from society. For example, if you are qualified, if you are well qualified and have well educated, then definitely you can seek a good job as per your potential. There won't be any discrimination. You can have your own business, you can start your own business. Whatever facilities and resources are available, that you are definitely going to get. You won't be eliminated by discrimination, whether you are a rich or poor. This is what is the aim of our state. Therefore, we can say the Constitution of India is a socialistic document. If the question is asked why the Constitution of India is a socialistic document, this will be your answer. Next comes secularism. Now children, when you are listening to my lecture, please also you have to read the lesson twice. This is very, very important, mandatory for every student to read the lesson twice, read the question twice, read the lesson twice. Few things are already marked in the textbook, which you can see in this, when I'm teaching. Please go through it, mark it and note down the answers in the notebook. I will be giving you the details of the answers on which pages they are, but you have to read it very minutely, word by word, and then you have to write the answers in your notebook. This is very important note for every student. Now we'll go to the next point, secularism. In the year 1976, 42nd Indian Constitution Amendment, the word secular was inserted into it. India is a secular nation. That means we never become one particular religion country as per the provisions of the Constitution. There are many countries in the world where the people living in that country follow one religion. But India is the only country which is being noticed by and appreciated by the different countries of the world, that India is a country where all the religion is being followed by the people living in the country. That is why it is called secular. India does not follow any particular religion, and they doesn't even promote any religious activities. The country cannot involve any secular activity without religious activity. The citizen of the country has a freedom to choose his or her religion. You have a right to choose your religion, your faith, your place of worship. The country is not going to discriminate. This is all mentioned in our constitution. Secular. The meaning of secular itself gives you an idea that there is no discrimination on any citizen on the basis of religion. Everyone is going to get job opportunity, political rights without any religious discrimination. So secularism is a basic foundation and mandatory feature of the constitution. It is mentioned सर्व धर्म समदृष्टि, यानी कि सारे धर्मों को एक दृष्टि से देखा जाता है विदाउट एनी डिस्क्रिमिनेशन. एंड सर्व धर्म संभवा आर द प्रिंसिपल इनकॉर्पोरेटेड इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. नो पर्टिकुलर religion would be encouraged in any state. There is no prohibition on any citizen to propagate his or her beliefs, trust and faith. यानी कि हर एक को हक है अपने रिलीजन के बारे में कहने का, प्रोपोगेट करने का. Now we'll see the basic provisions, basic features of the constitution. As already I told you, 26 January 1950, it is considered as the largest, extensive and detailed written document which came into existence, and that day onwards we are celebrating 26th January as a Republic Day. Now what is this constitution? What are the features of the constitution? It is a written document. Except Britain and Israel, India along with other nations of the world have their constitution in written form. Considering the social, geographical, diversified circumstances and prehistorical notions, the Constituent Assembly has kept the drafted constitution in written form. Our constitution is in the written form. Now, you see the size of the constitution. Indian constitution is divided into 22 sections comprising of 395 articles, 8 appendices, and now they have been 12. The constitution comprises provisions for state administration and state interrelations, fundamental rights, principles for political policies, judiciary, election commission, government institution, minorities, scheduled caste and deprived groups, and that is why it is said our Constitution of India is the largest detailed written document compared to other constitution. This is one of your answer, that is 2.8. This is what is about the size of the constitution. Now comes the single citizenship. In America, dual citizenship is given. That means in America it is the United States of America and the other is the state citizenship. Now for example, here we are talking about our country. India is having 28 states and 8 union territories, but we have only one single citizenship, that is we are a citizen of India, that means we are Indian. But in America they have two, dual, that is first of USA, and then if you are belonging to any of the state wherever you are staying, that citizenship is also being given to you. Next comes the center with strong federal structure. The center with strong federal structure means India is a union of states. India is having states, that is why it is called different states, many states, union of states. There is nowhere any reference of the word federal in the constitution. It is being given the union of states is the sentence used for India. Why the word union means what? It is a permanent, irreversible relationship between union and its component. States is indicated. India is a union of states and no state has right to secede it. Thus, India is a union of states, yet it has come elements of federal. That means we have central government, children, and we also have state government. But we all are united. Central government has to look after all the states also. So, union and state both together. That is why it is called as union. The union of states. In Indian Federation, there are two sets of governments, the union government and the state government. Just now I told you, union means central government, which is in Delhi, the parliament, and from there the state government also. They are controlling the state also. Though they have their own heads of the state, but they have to answer to the central government, that is union government. The constitution demarcates the power of the central and the state government into different lists. Now we will be talking about the list, how it works. The union list means it is having 97 subjects. Defense, foreign affair, atomic energy, banking, railway, communication. This is all included in the union list. That is the central government, Kendra. State is having 66 subjects. The state list comprises of the state legislative house, which can pass the laws, law and order, state government institutions, irrigation, agriculture, health, land, interstate trade, commerce are included in this. And if there is any failure of a law and order in the state, the union, as I told you in the beginning just now, if anything goes wrong with the state, the union government has to consent, they have a consent with it, against the will of the state can send reserve police force. यानी कि स्टेट गवर्नमेंट अपना काम बराबर करती है, मगर कुछ अगर फेलियर है या उनको कुछ ज़रूरत है तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट उनको हेल्प कर सकती है. देन नेक्स्ट इज द कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट. In addition to this, the constitution also provides a third list which is called as concurrent. Union list, state list and the concurrent list, which consist of other subjects, common subjects both to the center and the state. यानी कि केंद्र में भी और स्टेट में भी. The central and the state government can pass laws on these subjects. That is, this is having 47 subjects. Criminal and civil procedure, marriage, divorce, education, economic planning and trade union. So see here children, you have to remember union list is having 97 subjects, state list is having 66 and concurrent list is having 47. Then comes residuary powers. The subjects which are not specifically allotted to union or state are included in residuary powers. So this is one of your answer 3.7. The subjects which are not included in that the list of 97 and of 66, that another subject is allotted specifically to the union as well as state, which is called as residuary powers. Matters that are not included in the division of powers are known as residuary powers. The central government is given the power to legislate on this residuary subjects. Now the financial distribution of resources is done between union and the state. Excise, custom, export, import, income tax, all these major taxes are decided by the central government. So these are the central government which is coming under, these departments comes under central government. Excise, custom, export, import, income tax and all the major taxes. While sales tax, revenue tax, entertainment tax, educational tax, which is having huge financial resources, are decided by the state government. Now the next point is unified arrangement during crisis. Now if there is any crisis in a country, we have three provisions for emergencies in the constitution mentioned of India. The first one is national emergency. This can be declared at the time of war or any external attack or armed rebellions. That is national emergency. Due to law and order breakdown, the state cannot function according to the constitution, so constitutional emergency is declared. Now, due to increase in the prices, there is monetary value erosion, at that financial emergency is declared. Now see, first one is national emergency, which can be declared during the time of war or any external attack. Then some laws and orders having some breakdown. The state is not able to function according to the constitution, so the constitutional emergency will be declared. And if there is any increase in the prices, that is monetary value erosion or financial emergency, will be declared. So these are the three types, and this is also one of your answer 2.4. The central government has been given powers to deal with this emergency. All these three emergencies are under central government. Now we'll see the parliamentary system. Now India is having a parliamentary system of governance. In a parliamentary system, the parliament is a supreme authority representing the people. The legislature at the union is the parliament. The parliament is bicameral, means it is having two houses, upper house and lower house. Upper house is called as Rajya Sabha, lower house is called as Lok Sabha. Though the government is carried on in the name of president at the union and governor in the state. Now children, please pay attention. I am repeating it again. India is having a parliamentary system. It is a supreme authority. It is having two houses, upper house and lower house. The government is carried on in the name of president in the union and governor in the state. But actually the administration is carried out by the Council of Ministers in the central, headed by the Prime Minister at the union and the Chief Minister in the states. The Council of Ministers are responsible to the legislature that comprises of the representatives of the people. The President selects 12 people who are experts and experienced from various fields for Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha is a permanent house. Rajya Sabha is a permanent house in which 1/3 members retire every 2 years and the same number of members for election. Thus, each member is getting a tenure of 6 years in Rajya Sabha. The power of Rajya Sabha are less compared to Lok Sabha, which is special, superior and decisive. Rajya Sabha cannot be completely dissolved. In this also, first 7 lines are the 1.4 answer. Now comes independent and impartial judiciary. The Constitution has provided us for the independent and impartial judiciary. Nyay, justice, Supreme Court is at the top, then comes High Court at the state level, then comes District Court at district level, Taluka level, there are local and special courts. The judgment of Supreme Court are binding to all the subordinate. These are all subordinate courts. That means the Supreme Court is the top, and then High Court at the state level, the district level, the district courts, and at the Taluka level there are local and some special courts, but the judgment of the Supreme Court are binding to all the subordinate courts of the nation. In case of any conflict between the union and state, matters relating to constitution and interpretation of statutes, the final decision is vested with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the protector and the guardian of the constitution. This full part of independent and impartial judiciary is your 1.5 answer. Now comes the next. Amendment in Constitution. Now compared to other countries, Constitution of India is very dynamic. Constitution can be amended as when required. Constitution provision can be amended in 3 ways. This is also one of your answer, 1.6. I am going to read out and also explain you 1, 2, 3 amendments in Constitution. Now, what are the amendments? Which can be made by a simple majority of the members present and voting in the Parliament. In the Parliament, the members, those who are present, can vote, and majority will be having that right to make some amendments in the Constitution. Now, in certain amendments, they require special majority, that is 2/3 majority of the members should be present there and voting. Concerning the union-state relations, the special majority, that is 2/3, and the concurrence not less than 50% of the state legislature is required. If any amendment has to be made in the interrelations between union and state structure in the supreme judiciary, then half of the states from the total states have to give consent. See, here we are talking about the state and the union. They are sitting in the Parliament, all the members, they were discussing about the amendments in the Constitution. It can be only possible when the supreme judiciary, that is half of the states from the total states, have to give the consent. A number of states, it should be half. Okay. The judgment of the court can also bring amendment by the Parliament. There will be no change in the basic structure of the Constitution. Simple majority in Parliament can bring change in the amendments of the Constitution. That's why the Constitution is known as the most inconstant and flexible document, but at certain cases it is not amendable by simple majority. Without the majority consent of the states, it's not amendable. Then too, the mixture of both makes the Constitution. This already I told you about universal adult suffrage. In this system, the adult suffrage, which is said to be flexible, that is, according to this, any citizen who is above 18 years of age and possess the right to vote in the elections of Parliament, legislative assemblies or local self-government bodies without any discrimination of education, property and economic standard, you are having a right to vote. Then again comes the secularism. Here the people are having, they believe any religion, those who reside in India. Preamble has given this security to the people that you are living in a secular state where India has, but the Constitution, India has been declared as secular state. They cannot discriminate any citizen on the basis of religion. No citizen can be given any special rights or cannot be deprived with certain rights. ऐसा नहीं है उनको special rights दिया गया है और ऐसा भी नहीं है कि उनको किसी right से दूर किया गया. That is what is in our Constitution, it is mentioned. The state has to be absolutely impartial and neutral in respect of religion. Only secular state can offer proper or equal treatment towards all citizens. Secular means that the state doesn't interfere in matters of religion or is biased to any specific religion. This is 2.5 answer, children. You have to note down in your notebook. Judicial review is a chief characteristics of Constitution. Judicial review administers the working of union and state without jurisdiction. Without disrespecting the powers of Parliament, the Constitution has work and effort to harmonize the principles of judicial review. Judicial review is what? It is a main important characteristics of our Constitution. It administers the working of union and state within jurisdiction. They are not disrespecting the powers of the Parliament and making an effort to harmonize the principles of judicial review. Parliamentary amendments, external orders, ordinances and judicial judgment are given for judicial review. If the court finds any indiscrepancy in the external orders, ordinances or judicial judgment, it can stop by declaring them unconstitutional. अगर कोर्ट को ऐसा लगता है कि कुछ चीज़ें बराबर नहीं हैं, प्रॉपर नहीं हैं, then the judicial judgment can stop by declaring them unconstitutional. Fundamental and rights and duties. These fundamental rights and duties are for the citizen of India, because we are living a dignified life only because we are having the rights. But if you are having a rights, you also have a duties, both the ways. That is, a coin is having two sides. So if we are a coin as a citizen of India, we have our rights, so we also have our duties. The most valuable capital of our country is overall development of nation, which further lies in the fundamental duties and rights. Right to constitutional remedies for the children 6 to 14. That is, the children of our country up to the age of 14, right from 6 to 14, they have a right to educate themselves. It's made available by our government. Now the next is directive principles of state policy. Protection of people, security and welfare should be carried out by the states. These principles provide directions for state governance and policy making, so that it is called as directive principles. The state is responsible for the welfare of the people living in a state. That is what is the directive principles of the state policy. Now the 14th one is provision for backward sections and tribes. See, in our country we have, as you know, in geography we have studied different areas, different people belonging to different caste, creed, so different location. And there are some areas where the people are deprived of education, health. So to uplift such type of people, that is backward sections, the tribes who are deprived, the specific provisions I have made in the constitution. So we have reserved seats which are allocated in the legislature and local self-government bodies. Election to provide representation. Reservation quota has been provided for admission in educational institutions and also in the government job in proportion to their population to provide equal opportunity. Children of backward sections and tribes are given scholarships, basic amenities and waived fees, which come under optimistic policies and shielding policies as provision in the constitution. So now children, your lesson is complete. You have to note down the question answers in your notebooks.